This is PlayStation Plus or Minus for March 2018. Last time on this series, I reviewed Ratchet and Clank, so if you're interested, you can watch that review right over here. But today, we're looking at Bloodborne and Claire Extended Cut. With 5 games to review this month, I had to find some way to split everything up, and putting the 2 spooky games together seemed like the best option to me. So here we go with Bloodborne. Oh gosh. Where to even begin with this game? It's the second best Dark Souls game. I know that probably sounds like total nonsense to anyone who's not familiar with From Software and their games, but that's honestly the most concise way to describe this game. It's Dark Souls with a twist. Let's just start with the story. That seems like as good a place as any to start. Bloodborne takes place in some weird European town called Yharnam, where shit is going absolutely nuts. People are going crazy, they're hunting monsters, they're turning into monsters, they're fighting, burning things, whatever. There's a story and lore and all kinds of stuff beyond that, but it's pretty much all subtext. Like all Dark Souls games, the story is there if you want to dig it out, but if you don't care, the game's not forcing it on you. But rest assured, things do get pretty wild in this game. If fighting villagers for the first 2 hours doesn't seem crazy enough for you, just keep going. You'll be fighting horrors from beyond the veil of space and time soon enough. I don't really have a whole lot to say on the story. I never got super into the lore of these games. I was always here for the gameplay. But I like that. I get so tired of games where my character has a motivation that might be separate from mine. In Souls games, I'm playing the game because I want to explore the world, I want to fight the horrifying creatures and overcome the challenges. To me, that's one of the coolest things about the Souls games. They have the story and lore in them, but it's my personal motivation that really keeps me playing. You play as a human, I guess, and you wield a trick weapon, which means it has 2 forms. You wield that in one hand and a gun in the other. Now, you do get a few choices on your build at the start of the game, so let me recommend just here for new players to pick up the Saw Cleaver and Blunderbuss. They're just the simplest to understand and use effectively, in my opinion. Killing enemies gives you blood echoes, which are both currency and experience, and when you die, you drop all of it that you were carrying. But you can pick it up either by returning to where you died or killing the enemy that killed you. Look for the spooky glowy eyes. The main purpose of blood echoes is to level up, which you do by going here and talking to the spooky doll, and again, a recommendation for newer players, I would max these 3 stats above all else. Vitality for max health, endurance for more stamina, and strength for more melee weapon damage. And don't feel bad at all about looking up a guide for information on what the hell everything means. I know I did on my first playthrough. Of course, you can play the game with pretty much any build you want, that's kind of the beauty of it. But for beginners, this is going to be the most straightforward way to play. Slash at enemies to kill them, dodge enemies to not get killed by them, and shoot enemies to tickle them from afar or stun them when they're winding up an attack. Okay, so here's some of the stuff I really like about Bloodborne's gameplay. Dark Souls games are very shield heavy. You block and then you counterattack, and that'll kind of get you through most of the basic enemies. Not so in Bloodborne. Like I said before, they wanted this game to be Dark Souls but faster, so blocking is entirely gone. Instead, you have a gun, which oddly enough isn't really for doing damage, it's actually for stunning enemies. Hitting a shot at the exact right time will allow you to perform a visceral attack on enemies for huge damage, but mess it up and you're likely to take some damage. Which leads me to the rally system. See that orange part of the health bar? For a very brief period of time after you get hit, you can strike enemies to regain that health. Their aim with this was to encourage a more aggressive playstyle, and they absolutely nailed it. This is a pretty genius way for the developers to get you to play how they want you to. You don't have to, of course, thanks to the blood vials you can use to instantly regain some health, but this leads me to the main thing I don't like about Bloodborne's gameplay. See, in previous Dark Souls games, the Estus Flask was a limited-use healing item that refilled at every checkpoint, that's bonfires in Dark Souls and lanterns in Bloodborne. It was pretty much your most important tool for staying alive. But in Bloodborne, blood vials drop from enemies, and they do not refill at lanterns. You can carry a lot of them, but if you run out of blood vials on your 8th try at beating a boss, then you get to run around killing trash mobs to get some more. Honestly, this is Bloodborne's biggest issue, and while it is kind of annoying, in context with the rest of the game, this is a very small gripe. There is so much more to the gameplay that I just don't have time to get into, and a lot that even after playing the game twice, I'm sure I don't even know about. But I've got to cut it off somewhere, otherwise this video will be an hour long. So, wrapping up with Bloodborne, I guess I feel obligated to talk about stuff other than just the gameplay. The visuals are beautiful, if a little busy at times. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't able to see enemies as clearly as I really wanted to. This also applies to navigation, but here I think the busy visuals are actually kind of okay. The map is an absolute maze, and you're going to need to be able to differentiate where you've been and where you haven't, as well as observe things carefully to find shortcuts and hidden paths. The music is, well, actually there is no music most of the time. It mostly plays in boss fights, where it does its job at making boss fights feel intense. The frame rate's not as consistent as it probably should be, but I mean, at this point I'm just nitpicking. If you liked any of the Dark Souls games and you somehow haven't played Bloodborne yet, plus done, play this game, you'll love it. But for new players, be forewarned, these games are not very new player friendly. I'd even say they're downright hostile to new players. If you aren't willing to put some time and effort into learning how Bloodborne works and how to beat it, you're probably not going to enjoy it. Souls games have a reputation for being brutally hard, and that reputation is 100% earned here. Bloodborne is not impossible, but if you run in expecting to breeze through the game, you will die, and die, and die some more. But if you approach the game carefully and play with skill and caution, you will die and die and die some more. What I'm getting at is you're gonna die in this game. But if you're up to the challenge, it'll be a fun time. Bloodborne gets a plus. Oh, alright. Boy, here we go. Claire Extended Cut is a 2D horror game. Look, I don't typically like horror games. They either scare me, and I don't like that because I'm a huge baby, or they bore me, which I don't like because I have a functioning brain. And a lot of the horror games that I've played have tended to switch back and forth between either scaring the shit out of me or boring the shit out of me. Claire pretty much only does the latter. This game is so boring. What am I doing here? Is this the monster? Is this supposed to scare me? What is this? Why is there a dog here? That's okay, I like dogs. What's hitting me right now? Is it this? Why would I be scared of this? Some black lines? What, is that supposed to be scary? What hospital has big signs leading to the coffee? Why would you make gameplay take place in 2D with a 3D map? Is there any sort of threat here? Why would I be scared of any of this when there's clearly no threat? If you remember Uncanny Valley from a few months ago, imagine that game, but except nothing happens. And only like 3 things happened in Uncanny Valley anyway. Nothing happens in this game. You just wander the hospital and you get lost and you find some batteries and then you drink coffee and you jump like you're on the moon and then you fucking turn the game off because it's so goddamn boring. Claire Extended Cut gets a minus. I mean, if you're into horror games, maybe you might be able to get something out of this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too impatient for this kind of game. Honestly, I don't think I'm asking too much when I just ask for a game to not be boring. And Claire Extended Cut is more boring than reading with your eyes closed. Claire is as exciting as going to take a dump without your phone. That's the most millennial thing I think I've ever said. But seriously, Claire is boring as shit. I give it a minus. Don't play it. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the games. Bloodborne definitely isn't a game for everyone, so I'd be interested to hear why people did or didn't like it. As for Claire, I mean, if you liked Claire, I'm curious. I mean, please tell me why. I'm not saying that you're wrong, I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't see the appeal at all. Anyway, the next video is going to be another 2-for-1. We're looking at Mighty No. 9 and Bombing Busters. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, you know the drill. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.